Hey guys, Stu with Scynce here, and I'm going to be giving you a little crash course on the new LED Stratus homepage. So right away, you can see that I've got a whole list of devices in front of me to connect to. But let's say I want this to be less confusing and I want to filter it. If you've named a light, you'll see it show up in the name column. If not, it'll be the name given to it in production. You can search that light by name. If you don't know the light's names and you want to search lights by the distance to you, the lower you bring your signal strength, the closer the light until you can't connect to any of them. Finally, we can take this model filter and only look at the Kales in my room if I want it. But for this video, we're going to connect to a group and show you what that looks like. So go ahead and filter your whole page to show groups instead of lights. Now I could just click on group 13, connect, set my recipe, and leave it. But I do want to show you guys what it looks like when a group has zones in it. I'm going to enter 13 and I see zone 5 and zone 7. But which one's which? Come over here to the three dots and display devices. I know automatically that zone 5 is my veg recipe because of the raging kales in it. So if I want to edit my veg, I'm going to go to my groups, enter 13, connect to 5, and I'm ready to go.
Today we're going to do a quick video and talk about the sidebar menus and what kind of functionality you have at each different spot. So today we're going to start with the connection screen. This is going to be what we're looking at here, and if we press the three green lines at the top left corner, you're going to see the different selections. First one up is going to be Recipe Edit Advanced. This is how we used to create a recipe. It's going to bring up every recipe for every type of light you have in your account. You can click on them, you can upload, you can download, you can edit, you can add a recipe, and that's it. If we go back out, we can go into demo mode. Demo mode is going to give you basically one of every light. We'll click on the cush here, and you can see it just gives you a sample cush. You can click on it, go into it, play around with the sliders. Now, this is demo mode. It's not connected to anything, but it lets you see how things will work. If you're thinking about getting a Scynce light and you want to play around with our app, it's free on the App Store, so that's what this is for. Next thing, we exit, go back to the connection screen. It'll save. You can see there's no lights because it still has cushion there. So let's go to Group DFU. Group DFU is if you have a whole bunch of lights and you want to update the firmware. This will let you do it here. Of course, I don't have anything that needs updating or no groups, so it's not going to see anything. There's a whole video on that. We won't talk about that right now. Last up is going to be technical support. If you click on technical support, it's going to take you to our website and it will fill out a tech support ticket for you. And we automatically, about 5 different people get this email, so you'll get a response here pretty quick. And of course, if you want to talk to somebody, you can always call. That's it for the connection sidebar menu. Now let's talk about the sidebar menu while you're connected to a light. A lot of this stuff is going to be the same. We've got Home, which takes you back here. You've got About. First thing is the firmware version. You want to make sure that's current. Then it also gives you powered on time, uptime since last boot, and then intensity, are you active, recipe, group mode, group zones. Good stuff to know. If you ever call tech support, they're going to want to ask you this stuff. Go back up here, configuration, which is going to be mostly what we talk about today, but let's just go through everything else. Advanced spectrum takes you here. This is a Kale. This is just like what you used to see. And my recipes, this is going to show only Kale recipes. Now, when you were out in the connection screen, it showed all of your recipes. But here, you only get recipes for what you are connected to. Down here to Recipe Edit Advanced, this is going to be the exact same thing we looked at in the configuration. We have to exit that, come back here. Then you've got Recommended Recipes, takes you to our recommended recipe interface. You can download anything you want. And then check for firmware updates. This light's updated, and technical support we've gone over. So now that you've seen that, let's keep moving, and we're going to talk about all the different stuff in the configuration menu. First one up is Identify. You press Identify. If you can see the light right now, a Kale is going to flash between cool and warm. Other lights will flash on and off. Some will flash on, say warm to red, but you're going to get some sort of strobing action on your light. Security, if you do this, obviously this is the account I'm logged into, Steve at Scynce. This will lock any lights in this group and any zones within the group. You will only be able to use them if you are logged into that specific account. We don't want to do that, so we're going to say no. Check for firmware updates automatically. What that will do is that will check for firmware updates when you log into the Stratus. Rename, this allows you to rename it. If you've got different rows, columns, rooms, you can name it whatever you want, and that will show up in the connection screen as that kind of light. Group mode and group numbers. There's going to be a separate video on groups and zones. There's a lot to talk about with groups and zones, so please see the other specific video concerning that. Next up is going to be time sync. We want this on. What this will do is this will sync the group time to whatever your phone time is. You saw a change right there. It was 2 minutes off, but now it's back to 13:04. Next one, it doesn't matter on a Kale, but if you have an alpha, you can change your default fan. What this is a minimum fan setting. If the fan needs to run harder, it will come on. The processor on the board controls the fan speed. But if you want to use your fan to move air around your room, it can do that. Down here is reboot device and factory reset. Reboot device is just a soft reset. If you do that, it's just like powering it off and powering it on. It's going to keep all your settings. It's going to come back and join your group or zone, whatever you had before. You do a factory reset, it's going to reset everything. Names, zones, recipes, you name it. It's going back to like you pulled it out of the box. So typically you don't want to do that unless you're on the phone with us. Child mode is also going to be a maintenance only mode. Don't use that unless somebody from Scynce tells you to.
Hey guys, I'm here to show you the new basic control panel in THEA Stratus. When you connect to a light in a group, this is the first set of controls you will see. There's a flower and veg preset that will allow you to simply set a veg or flower spectrum to always be on. This is especially helpful if you are using an external timer to turn your lights on and off. Simply press the preset you'd like and select your overall intensity. Press the preset button again to turn the light off. Next is the flower and veg timer mode. Press flower or veg timer, select your start time, select your duration, 12 hours, since this is a flower recipe. Select your intensity, and whether or not you would like a sunrise or sunset. Once you're finished, hit start. Another exciting new feature is maintenance mode. For sprays, you can set the lights to stay dim for a predetermined amount of time, after which they will return to their previous setting. You can also choose to set the spectrum to white at 100% for IPM inspections. You can also end the maintenance mode anytime by pressing End Maintenance. Finally is Advanced mode, which we'll cover in a separate video. This will take you to the slider screen for full spectral control. Thanks for watching, and as always, our support team is here to answer any questions you may have.
What up, fellow scientists? This is Eric coming at you, and we're discussing the Advanced button today in basic mode. So when you click on Advanced, this will actually give you all the sliders that you'd like to see to fully spectrum tune with your fixture. So in order to do that, we have to take these locks off, which right now you can see it's set on flower, then you got veg to next to it. So to actually unlock these sliders, we have to click Custom. So we're going to click Custom, and as you can see, the locks went away. Now, this will give you the ability to tilt the spectrum more to the blue side, more to the warm side, if you want to lower the intensity on that, but not sacrifice the intensity on the reds. You can do that. Just like if you wanted to go more your deep reds or more your far reds, which would create your plants to stretch a little bit more, you can do that as well. Also, the same thing with the slider up there, increase the intensity. Or if you want the overall master intensity that'll dim both of these other sliders at the same time, that's how you'd bring that right there. Even though they're at 100, it's still going to dim the fixture for you overall. Also, another important thing when you're running multiple fixtures, this little toggle button right here, very important to have turned on. Also, if you're running a recipe, very important to turn on the recipe. You can turn it off just like that, and you can see the sliders go away. And that is how you spectrum tune in advanced mode.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Thea Stratus tutorial. I'm going to be going through the My Recipes section of the app today. So we're going to start off here on the main screen, on the Spectrum screen. You're going to go up to that menu there on the left, the three lines there. I call it the hamburger from time to time. Click on that. About halfway down there, you'll see My Recipes. We're going to go ahead and click on that part of the menu. And it's going to bring up the recipes that you already have loaded into your account. So if you're new, this is the first time you're picking up this light, you won't have anything in here. If you've been working with these for a while, you may have a couple of recipes already loaded in. These are going to be specific to the fixture you're currently working with. So you'll see I'm working with a Dragon Alpha. These are all my Dragon Alpha recipes. So you see I have that top one active there. If we wanted to go ahead and activate any of the other ones, you can see the switches. You can activate the recipes from here. If you'd like to add another recipe from our recommended recipes, you go ahead and hit that menu button again, and you see about halfway down there, there's the recommended recipes section. So that'll take you to the recommended recipes. Or even easier, here at the bottom of the screen, you have that add recipe green button. We're going to go ahead and just use that. Click on that. Up it comes. These are all of the recipes that we recommend that are easy to download in. We'll just go ahead and hit the Start Here button. And this is going to bring up all the Start Here recipes. You're going to go ahead and pick which fixture you're working with. Like I mentioned, I'm working with the Alpha. So we're going to go ahead and just download this Alpha Spectrum. So I'll click that Alpha button. It's going to ask you if you want to import the recipe. Hit yes. Recipe imported successfully, so we're good there. We're going to close this out. It's going to bring you back to this screen, the main Spectrum screen. You're going to go up to that menu, go back to the My Recipes section, and you'll see there it's a duplicate because I already had it downloaded, but there's Dragon Alpha, Sunrise, and Sunset. I'm going to click on that. That'll bring up the recipe as it's designed. If we want to do any sort of adjustments to this recipe, you're going to go over and go to the advanced recipe edit, the recipe edit advanced section right under My Recipes, and in there you can change times, you can change every spectrum settings, anything like that. If you want to just go ahead and activate this recipe, just go ahead and push to activate. It's going to ask you if you'd like to load it, hit load, and that's your current active recipe. Back to the Spectrum screen, make sure that recipe button is on, and you're good to go.
What's up, fellow scientists? This is Eric coming at you, and today we're going to be discussing advanced recipe mode. So to get us started, we're going to click on the three bars in the top left corner. Then we're going to click Recipe Edit Advanced. This will bring up a list of all your pre-made recipes. We're going to click Create Recipe. Now, today, we're going to be building a veg recipe for the Raging Kush 2.0. Click Add. Now I'm going to scroll down to my list, click on Veg Raging Kush 2, enter Model Kush 2. Next thing is we're going to add steps. So since this is our initial step, we want to highlight the box on the top right corner. It says is initial step. Next thing we want to do is we want to give this a start time. So we're going to hit enter time. And we're going to start this at midnight, 100 hours. We're going to hit done. Now step time. This is a really nifty feature. Now let's say in the recipe we're building right now, in the future you don't want it to start at midnight. You want it to start at 6 a.m. You're on a different run. You want to try something different. What's cool about that is you can go back into this recipe, change it from midnight to 6 a.m. or whatever time you want, and all the following steps after the initial step will snap to the recording places. This way, all you have to do is change the start time and not have to worry about all your other steps. So I highly recommend clicking yes. All right, now we're going to click Custom. I like my veg to be 70-30, 70 cool, 30 on the warm side, no reds, just my preference. Bring my master to 50. and we're going to click apply. Next thing we want to do is we want to give this fixture an off time. Now, before I go to that, I just want to go over your resources with you. If you look at the clock right here on the top middle, you'll see that a whole thing is highlighted green. When we change the next step, pay attention and see how it changes. Just like this graph in the middle, you're going to see how it changes. So we're going to click add steps. Next thing, we want to turn this guy off. So we're going to go to 1800 hours. Now we're going to bring this master slider down and click apply. Now you'll notice that that military clock has a section that's missing from it. That represents the dark cycle. That represents when the fixture is not turned on, just like the graph down below. You'll see how it drops on the right side of it and flatlines in the 0% line. That also represents the fixture's off. But you know what? You bought a Scynce light. You don't want it just on and off. Let's go over some of the cool fun features. Let's add a sunrise and a sunset, shall we? So let's add another step. First things first, I want a 30-minute sunrise. Click custom. All right. Now I'm going to change this transition to ramp, then click apply. Now we're going to go back to our first step, and we're going to bring this down to 0. Since we're starting from a dark point to ramping it up, you need to start off at 0. That's how you actually start a ramp. Now we're going to leave that on instant and click apply. Now you notice that your graph in the middle right there has a ramp rather than it just being drastic. Now let's do the same with the sunset. Let's add another step. Enter time. I want a 30-minute sunset. Hit done. Custom. All right, bring the red slider down, this to 50. And we're going to leave this just like this and click apply. Now, we're going to go to our last step here and actually create this ramp. 1800 hours, change the transition to ramp, then click apply. Now you'll see that you have a ramp coming up that represents your sunrise. Then you have a ramp coming down at the end that represents your sunset. That is how you build a recipe with our lights. If you have any other questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, Stu here. I'm going to be showing you how to submit a support ticket on the chance that something does happen to one of your lights. Now, of course, nobody wants a light to go down, but what's the best way to handle this when it does happen? You can just go up to the top 3 lines in the left-hand corner and hit technical support. But if you first connect to your light, and for this instance, we're going to go to B Center Raging Kale, because I know that's the one that's down. I'm going to connect to the light, and you'll actually see the icon on technical support changes when we go back to it. So what happened was it actually populates this light's information when I go to technical support. So hitting this button will prepare the report and send more information to us on our end so we can better help you in your scenario. Thanks.
Now we're going to talk about groups and zones. Let's talk about how this ecosystem works together. You've got a total of 15 groups that can have 200 lights per group. That allows for 3,000 lights total. Let's look at this chart for a bit and we'll go through it. This is a fictional facility where you've got 3 different rooms. So in 3 rooms, you're going to use 3 different channels. In each channel, you're going to have a tempo, and that's for timekeeping. So in group 1, we've got all flower. But in flower, you want to split it up into different zones. So you've got 4 zones that are each split up with a certain amount of lights. And then you reserve some zones for future expansion if you want to split them up more or you add more tables. One thing to point out is you'll notice each group has a Thea tempo. And that's so you can get time if you ever have a power outage. A Thea tempo will broadcast its time across all the zones within a group. So you really only need 1 per room, 1 per group, and it doesn't matter how many zones. Okay, Now let's go over and look at group 2, also your veg room. You have a 20 light zone, a 50 light zone, and a 10 light zone. Each zone is going to act independent. It could do whatever you want, different times, different schedules, different recipes. And then the same in group 3, you've got 5 zones, tempo for timekeeping. Now that you understand that, let's go look at the app and how you would configure this. Let's go back into the configuration menu and scroll down a bit, and you're going to see some buttons. They're the group and zone configuration buttons. So first thing we want to talk about is the group button. You're going to see 3 things here: group mode, what group it's in, and then change group single and change group network. If you want to put it in group mode, you turn this on and off, and that lets the lights talk to each other. So now if you send out a command, it's going to go to any light that's on group 14. And just as a quick reminder, if you turn group mode on, it will turn group mode on for all the lights in the group. That way, if you have one that's hiding somewhere that you don't know it's in group mode, just toggle this on and off, and it will recapture all the lights that are in group 14 and the current zone back to group mode. What group you're in? We're in group 14. Think of the group as kind of a channel. That's a radio channel it's transmitting on. And then change group single and change group network. If you push change group single, it will only change the light that you are currently connected to. It will never send it out, regardless of the group mode toggled on and off. It will only send it to a single light. Now the change group network, that will send it out to all lights that are currently connected in any zone as long as your group mode is on. So if you send out change group network and you've got the group mode off like that, it will not do anything. It's just going to send it to a single light. Now if this is on, it will send it out to all the lights in that group. Now, moving down to zones, zones, as you learned earlier, is going to be kind of a subgroup within the channel. So your group is your overall, so your group is your room, and then your zone is going to be different control zones within that room. Same thing here. You've got change zone single and change zone zone. Now, change zone zone is going to be the same as group mode, where if you want to send it out to multiple lights, so you're going to change the zone for all the lights in a current zone, you need to have group mode on. And that's it. That's your quick overview. Okay, you've learned all about the ecosystem, how groups work, how zones work. You've got your facility laid out. You know exactly where you're going to put everything. So let's go through a quick example of moving some stuff around. So right now we're on our connection screen, and I want to look in group 14. In group 14, I've got 3 alphas and a kale. So we'll just assume that these are bigger groups of lights, but we're going to move the kale into a group and a separate zone, and the alphas into a group and separate zone. So let's come up here. Well, first thing we need to do is we need to connect to them. Okay, and configuration. And what we want to do is we want to do a group change network. We're going to put them in group 15 just because that's how we have it planned out. Our group mode, we want to make sure that that's on, and change group network. And we're going to get a warning. All zones in group 14 will be moved to group 15. Yes. One more last confirmation. Yes. Now what's going to happen is all the lights are going to change. They're going to change differently. Alphas will turn red. Kales will turn warm. So you want to look at all your lights and make sure that they did it. And then it's going to ask you that here in a second. Yes. Okay. Now all the lights are going to reboot. You're going to see some stuff change here for a minute. And then once we're back to group 15, we can go connect. Okay, now we got group 15. We're going to display devices, and there's our 3 lights. You can see the zone has gone to 0 and the group is in 15. So the first thing we want to do is we want to move the kale out because it's going to be easier. We can move 1 kale out of the zone, then we can do a zone change to move the alphas out of the zone. So let's connect to the kale, and we're going to move the zone. Come up here, and we're going to go to zone, it doesn't matter, zone 5. And we're going to do change zone single. Yes. It will reboot the light and kick you back to the device list. And here We'll display devices. Now you can see the Kale is in zone 5. So the last thing we want to do is we want to put the alphas in a different zone. Connect, come up here, and we're going to go make sure group mode is on. It is. And we're going to put this in zone 4. Come down here, change zone. Yes. Network's updating. Back out here to the connection page. Okay, now that we did that, let's go back into group 15. We'll display devices. And now you can see we've got our Kale in group 15, zone 5, and we've got the 3 alphas in group 15, zone 4. Now, these are all independent groups. You can give them recipes, you can change spectrum, you can do whatever you want, and they are going to act as an independent control group. Hopefully that answers any questions you had, how to do it. If you have any more questions, always reach out to us, support@scynce.ag, or give us a call. We'll be happy to walk you through the process. Thanks.